What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Facemask Fantasy. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Hopefully, your week 4 matchups went in the win column. And we're on to week 5, already basically near the quarter pole of the season. It's wild how long we wait for the NFL season to return in the offseason, and then it gets here and you blink and you're 8 weeks in. But for us, at least right now, only 4 weeks in the books. Plenty of season left to enjoy. So that means if you're off to a poor start, 1-3, hopefully not 0-4, but there are going to be teams out there that are 0-4. It hurts. It sucks. But you're not dead yet. Nobody's out of it yet. Plenty of opportunity to bounce back. And maybe it starts tonight or tomorrow night when your waivers process, depending on who's available in your league. We can go over that, who to pick up, who to drop. And we'll see what we can do to turn it around. If you're 2-2 or better, spectacular. Obviously, everybody wants to be 4-0 or at least 3-1. If you're 2-2, you're fine. You're right where you need to be. It's not, it's not going to be top of the standings, but you're probably either currently sitting in a playoff spot or not too far away from one. So lots of time to turn things around if you need that time. Otherwise, hopefully we've established some good squads, put together some good teams. Looking to set up nicely, pick up a couple of wins as we enter the guts of the NFL season. The midway point will be here before you know it. So we'll talk about top ads that are most likely available in most leagues. Obviously, every league has a different looking waiver wire. Who is available is going to fluctuate. So we can, of course, go over that. So if you have a specific situation, if you're thinking about adding a guy, as you're asking questions about who to add and who to drop, consider what the makeup of your team already looks like. Are you strong at running back and you need to find a wide receiver on the wire, or vice versa? These are good details to try to sort through, to try to figure out as you're navigating at this point who to potentially drop, because now we've got a decent enough sample size for some players that'll ultimately help us make a call whether or not to keep those players or not. The top ads this week. He's probably not available anymore, but on the off chance that he is, I would say that I'm willing to roll the dice on Jameson Williams above anybody else. The red flags were in abundance over the course of the offseason. First was the suspension. As it turns out, this was deemed under new rules from the NFL about their anti-gambling policy. The penalty for Jameson Williams is not as severe because he wasn't betting on NFL games themselves. Otherwise, he'd be out for the rest of this season, no questions asked. And now folks that are looking at players that are, potentially looking at an indefinite suspension that will last longer than a year, if they do that. That wasn't the case with Jameson Williams. They've reduced his suspension. He's back in the building. Probably have to have some patience with Jameson Williams. I'm always going to err on the side of caution in these types of situations, whether it's an injury or just for whatever reason, for whatever circumstance, a player is getting back on the field after a somewhat extended absence. J-Mo missed the first 4 games this season because of the suspension. He also missed a bunch of games last year in his recovery from a torn ACL that he suffered at Alabama. So lots of missed time so far for Jameson Williams, and only 1 catch to his name thus far. So, but it was a big play for a score, but it was on broken coverage. So lots of unknown still with Jameson Williams, but if off chance he is still available, he would be the top waiver wire ad this week for me, over Michael Wilson, over Jaleel McLaughlin, and we can get into those guys as well. On the off chance, I have to caveat this because he's probably already being stashed um, in most leagues. But just looking on Yahoo, he's only rostered in 32%. So almost 2/3 of leagues in Yahoo, Jameson Williams is available. So it's not like he's getting stashed just everywhere. I would bet a lot of those, the third of leagues that he is already rostered in, are either keeper leagues or just deeper leagues. So in 10-team redraft leagues, he probably wasn't rostered yet. This was probably the week that folks were going to start taking a look at adding him. Now that gets fast tracked because he is eligible to play week 5. That would be my top ad. What's going on, Iron? Good to see you, man. Jameson Williams will be my top ad. He's available in over 2/3 of Yahoo leagues. So he's widely available. Red flags are dicey. Missed a bunch of time. Picked up the hamstring injury in training camp, right? It shut him down for the preseason, essentially, which was really his only opportunity for some type of game action before the suspension, and he lost out on that. So he's going to be behind the 8 ball. And we have to be very patient with him because of that. There's no conceivable way you could start him week 5. But I do think he is the best long-term upside pickup this week. We're at the point now where you're hoping one guy emerges on the waiver wire per week, maybe 2. This is, I would say, one of the last names on the waiver wire, Jameson Williams, that really has needle moving potential. So go ahead and get a waiver claim in for him. I would say even if you don't have a big need at wide receiver, the upside relative to the other options on the waiver wire at this point, the upside for Jameson Williams versus some of those other names is big. It is a substantial gap between Jameson Williams and what is most likely the other best options for you on the waiver wire. Iron, I know JMO's been a guy for you. I would not start him this week unless you're desperate. Unless you're, even if you're desperate, there's just no way. The only place I'm starting Jameson Williams personally, I have him in a rebuild in Dynasty where winning games is like, at least for this year, not something I'm worried about doing. So I'll roll the dice on my young upside guys and just throw them into my starting lineup. But if you're just playing redraft or keeper and each week matters for you as far as getting a win, you cannot start Jameson Williams this week. That being said, I think he has potential slate busting upside relative to at least the rest of the waiver wire options that are most likely available to you in your league. Jameson Williams is the top waiver wire ad over Michael Wilson, over Jaleel McLaughlin, over CJ Stroud, unless it's, not, I can't even say unless it's Superflex because he's already rostered in Superflex. But in one quarterback leagues, Jameson Williams needs to be the top guy this week. Needs to be the top ad this week. He's the one with the slate busting potential. After that is everybody else. Michael Wilson is off to a nice start for his career. Had a, early career game in only his 3rd career game. What do you have? Didn't he have 2 scores? He had 2 touchdowns, I think, last week. For the Cardinals, I'm pretty sure he had 2 third round rookie, 3rd career game. Like, not bad. Not bad. 7 for 76 and a pair of scores. That's in a tough matchup, too, against San Francisco. That number is about to skyrocket as far as the percent of leagues where he's rostered in. He's balling out. He looks like he's more ready to contribute if you need a spot start. Like if you got a bunch of week 5 buys, Tampa Bay, the Chargers, the Seahawks. There's another team I'm forgetting who has a week 5 buy. Cleveland is the other one, right? It's Cleveland, Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Tampa Bay, Seattle, and I literally just rattled off the other one. The Chargers. That's right. Um, if you need a spot start, Michael Wilson. If you need a long-term play, and honestly, just in general, you could just use some better depth, Jameson Williams. But Michael Wilson, I would put him next. Um, Wan'Dale Robinson looks like an intriguing add in deeper leagues. CJ Stroud, if you're somebody who rosters two quarterbacks in a one quarterback league, maybe you've got a volatile starter like Burrow or Justin Fields. Um, if you've got a volatile starter, CJ Stroud is worthy of a pickup. I would say Jaleel McLaughlin. He's the top running back option on the waiver wire this week, but I'm less enthused about him. He had a nice showing against the Bears. I think he had 7 carries for 72 yards. You're averaging 10 yards a carry. I know it was against the Bears, but that's still an NFL defense, and McLaughlin is a rookie, like not taking anything away from him at all. 7 for 72 is great, and he contributed in the receiving game as well. He could absolutely carve out a role in this backfield, but it sounds like Javonte Williams might not miss more than a short amount of time. Javonte has not been effective thus far through 3.25 games. He got hurt this past week. That's why McLaughlin is on the radar. Javonte hasn't been very good, which I speculated would be the case in the offseason. And obviously his season is not over yet. I speculated that return to play does not mean return to form. If anybody was around for the offseason when I was talking shop on some players and their upside for this year, I've been a Javonte Williams guy, but I was kind of on him this offseason. That appears to be coming to fruition. Obviously, he could continue to get stronger over the course of the season and turn things around, but through the first month, it hasn't been great. McLaughlin should carve out a role. That all being said, it sounds like Javonte avoided a major injury. Sounds like he'll be back before long. Maybe he needs to miss a game. Doesn't sound like it's going to be an extended absence for Javonte. That's why I'm not super enthusiastic about Jaleel. If you have Javonte Williams and you would just want to complete that backfield and you have space to get yourself the handcuff, okay, fine. Sure. But if you're just looking at one-to-one, the best options on the wire, I would say Jameson Williams. Trying to think if there's any other guys worth talking about through the through the waiver wire. I guess if you're streaming tight ends, I'll talk about CJ Stroud short, like I already kind of mentioned, in one quarterback leagues. If you have a risky starter right now and you want to grab a QB2 and play him with some confidence, CJ Stroud is perfectly fine. And another guy along that same wavelength, if you could use a tight end, if you're streaming tight ends and you're just kind of bargain hunting at this point, Dalton Schultz looks like a decent add as well. Like, the reasons we like CJ Stroud are beyond the fact that he looks good, he's going to throw a lot and the defense is bad. So he's going to have to stay aggressive. And that offensive line should get healthy eventually, or healthier than it currently is. So if you like CJ Stroud, you might as well like all of his pass catchers for the same reason. You might as well be in on Dalton Schultz if you're streaming tight ends. Outside of that, I mean, Marvin Mims should already be rostered in most leagues. Chuba Hubbard, Tajay Spears. Good running back stashes that are probably already rostered in a lot of leagues. That probably rounds out most of the waiver wire options for this week. With that, we can go ahead and get into questions. And we'll go from there. Bobby, appreciate the super. Thank you so much. Um, drop London or Pickens for JMO. Man, neither. Neither. I don't think I can go there. London is going to be an incredibly frustrating player to roster this year, but I think he's too talented to drop. Pickens, you're not. Pickens, you're not dropping. Um, London is going to be the frustrating one to roster in between these two. I know Pickens had a down game, but so did the entire Steelers offense. Um, Pickens is too good though to just drop outright. If you're interested in adding JMO, and these are the last two guys on your roster, Bobby, you don't have room for Jameson Williams. Like, I would need to know if there's anybody else on your roster that is worth considering here. I know these guys are going to be frustrating to have some weeks. London is in a bad situation, and Pickens is not in a good offense, right? Matt Canada is not a good offensive coordinator, and I think it's fair to start asking questions as to whether Kenny Pickett is a good quarterback. I don't know how good that offense is. It doesn't feel like it's very good. So I understand the concerns, but Pickens from an individual talent perspective, and London for that matter, from an individual talent perspective, they are too good to just drop. London had a touchdown in London, and he almost had a second one. He didn't quite get that second foot in bounds. I think it was an attempted fourth down play by the Falcons to try to get the score closer late in the game. London was close to a 2-touchdown game. We can't drop London, even though his situation is like pulling teeth. Same deal with Pickens. Bad outing. You just kind of gotta eat that with Pickens and keep it moving. We can't drop these guys. I would be curious to know who else is at the end of your bench that could be considered here. I want to drop Jameson Williams, but not for those guys. You have to keep those two, like definitively. I know it's frustrating, but these guys are too talented to send to waivers. So let me know, Bobby. Thank you again for the super. Let me know who else is at the end of your bench. I can maybe think more on that one, but London or Pickens, you have to keep both of those guys. You got to keep both. Got to keep both. Nicely done, Iron. It's looking like I think AJ Brown was the top scorer this week. Puka remains a wide receiver one, just like we all drew it up to start the season. What going against McCaffrey and being able to and holding off that's pretty awesome. Going against McCaffrey and holding him off for the win. That's pretty good. Nicely done, Iron. Nicely done. What's going on, Greg? I am very happy that I pivoted off of Amari Cooper for Nico. Man, he went nuts. Happy to hear about that one. Good to hear about that one. As far as if you're rostering you have Trevor Lawrence. Not crazy about if I have Trevor Lawrence in a league, and I know he's not off to the best start in a one quarterback league. I have Trevor Lawrence. He's not off to like a world beating start, but I'm not rostering another quarterback. I'm kind of just rocking with Lawrence. I still believe in the talent. He's got good players to throw the ball to. He's got a pretty good play caller to work with, and Doug Peterson, and I guess Press Taylor is their offensive coordinator. Not too worried about having a quarterback on my roster for Lawrence. That being said, because you have Lawrence, if you want to replace Watson with Stroud, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine, Greg. You can drop Watson for Stroud. I don't know that I can quite say start him over Lawrence this week. Lawrence has a tough matchup against Buffalo, but I'm probably just rocking with him. But if you want to pick up Stroud, that's fine. I don't think you need to, but you can if you want to. And okay, Bobby, just to wrap this up, I would just drop Dylan, or I would drop one of those two tight ends. I would drop one of those two. I would probably drop Logan Thomas. If you want to keep Dylan, that's fine. But Dylan, I think we were a little bamboozled on Dylan. I bought into that he was good. I'm actually I mean, I don't. As it turns out, I'm not sure if AJ Dillon is any good. Um, I get the idea. You have Aaron Jones, so you want to keep the handcuff intact. But like for me, it's either Dylan or Logan Thomas. Those two easily. You keep those wide receivers, but I would drop either. I guess I would put Logan Thomas first. You don't need a second tight end. Um, we'll worry about a fill in for Cole Kmet when it's actually time to worry about a fill in for Cole Kmet, either a bye week or an injury. Um, you might as well just keep it moving with him. We're not expecting 2 touchdown performances every week. Maybe not again, considering they played the Broncos, but I wouldn't roster 2 tight ends. I would just drop one for JMO. I would absolutely do that. If you want to keep rostering both tight ends because you prefer to keep 2 tight ends that are a little bit more on the, you're kind of at the bottom of the barrel bargain hunting, then I would cut Dylan. I'm not sure that Dylan is any good. All right, back to the top of the chat. I see Astro's question. Would I keep Goff until Burrow becomes Burrow or drop Goff and pick up Stroud? I would pick up Stroud. Goff is the better NFL quarterback right now, but Stroud is the better fantasy quarterback. His defense stinks, and he has to throw as a result. Houston's defense isn't where it needs to be yet. They need to throw the ball. Why not throw the ball with Stroud? That's just more reps. That's more in-game reps. More opportunities for him to get real-time experience instead of them just kind of, protecting him by running the football. Like, let him take his lumps. Let him throw the ball, especially if you have an offense or a defense that cannot be trusted. Most weeks. I know they handled Pittsburgh this past week, but every defense handles the Steelers offense these days. The Steelers don't have a 400-yard output on offense in like 2 years. It's been like 2 years since the Steelers have registered a 400-yard total output on offense, total yardage output on offense. Everybody handles them. But Houston's not going to have as much success other weeks on defense, which means Stroud needs to stay aggressive. Houston has every reason to keep throwing the football with him. If he feels comfortable, if he feels confident, let him get those reps. Houston's not competing for anything this season. Let Stroud take his shots, take his lumps. And it makes sense for 2 reasons. He looks good, and he's probably going to have to stay aggressive with that defense. Yeah, I would pick up Stroud. Drop Elijah Moore or Spears for Michael Wilson or McLaughlin. If you want to drop Moore for Michael Wilson, that's fine. I don't think I would be able to pull the trigger on that, but if you need a guy this week, because Elijah Moore is on bye, that's fine. I would hold on to Spears, though. If you're stashing Spears, I know Derrick Henry had a Derrick Henry game. Derrick Henry did his thing. But Spears is getting on the field for Tennessee. I would not drop Spears. If you want to drop Elijah Moore, or if you need to drop Elijah Moore because he's on bye and you need a guy this week, then I would drop Moore for Michael Wilson. If I don't need a guy this week, I might hang on to Elijah Moore. That's personal preference, though. I understand if you don't want to. He had a bad game this past week. Probably, rookie quarterback who isn't ready for starting duties in the NFL. Held down or, held back the offense. So I'm not going to hold that performance against any of the Browns too much. But if you want to drop more for Michael Wilson, and especially if you need a guy for this week, that's fine. But I would hold Spears. Greg, if Dubs is still available and you can get him for Elijah Moore, that's fine. Elijah Moore feels like he's a little bit more reliable than Romeo Dubs feels like he's a little bit more reliable than Elijah Moore at this point. So if you want to drop more for Dubs, that's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Would I drop Josh Kelly for Jake Ferguson? Yeah, the Waller pick is turning out to that is turning out to not work out. The problem is the Giants aren't throwing him the football. They're like asking him to help and it's like the Giants trade a third round pick in the offseason for Darren Waller with the idea of him becoming like a big target for Daniel Jones, both literally and in the sense of lots of targets. He's literally a big target and he could literally soak up a lot of volume. And then they need to ask him to block exclusively through most games because their offensive line is that bad. It's just like, you're putting the horse before the cart. You need the offensive line before you have the playmakers. I digress. What happened with Kelly this week? Was it another bad week? And it is his bye. He struggled. Okay. I mean, 17 carries, 65 yards. Yeah, Josh Kelly stinks. He's a drop. It makes it even easier that the Chargers are on their bye. Austin Eckler's probably not too far from returning. If you had Josh Kelly and you needed, and it made sense in a pinch to feel like you needed to use him if you had Eckler or you lost out and he was going to get an expanded role and expanded opportunity. He's not it. Josh Kelly's not it. He's a safe drop. If a guy like Ferguson is somebody you're targeting or looking at, I would throw Dalton Schultz in there as well. Again, the Texans are going to be throwing the football a ton. Schultz should stand to benefit from that at some point. If you're looking for a streaming option, he's fine. If you've got your eye on Ferguson, he's fine too. If you need to drop Josh Kelly to make that happen, go for it. If you need to drop Josh Kelly for whatever you think makes sense for better depth somewhere else, just do it because Josh Kelly ain't it. He had multiple opportunities. Nothing scary about most of his matchups. Tennessee aside, but Minnesota shouldn't have been a difficult matchup. He did terribly that day, 11 for 12 at home against Las Vegas. Nothing scary about that matchup. Yeah, he got 65 yards, but it took him 17 carries to get there, and he didn't register a catch for the third time in 4 games. To the scrap heap you go, Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly is a drop everywhere in all formats. So yeah, if you need to grab a tight end, go for it. If you need to grab Jameson Williams, if Jameson Williams is out there and you have Josh Kelly, do it. Put a waiver claim in for JMO, drop Josh Kelly. Easy call. Easy call. Is Michael Wilson and Hollywood Brown worth playing next week? The Arizona Cardinals have Cincinnati at home. It's a little bit of a tough sell to say fire them both up. The reason Michael Wilson popped last week, or part of the reason, was obviously game script, right? And Hollywood had a nice day as well. 7 for 96. Do we trust? I guess my question to your question, TJ, do we trust the Bengals in their current state to require the Cardinals to throw the ball enough to make both Michael Wilson and Marquise Brown fantasy relevant this week? That is my question, I guess, for my rhetorical question for all of you. Let's pin that. Let's go ahead and pin that. I'm going to ask that question and pin that, or I'm going to start a poll. I'm going to start a poll. I need to start doing more of this. Man, the question's too long. Damn it. All right. Never mind. Asking the questions too long. I don't need a character limit right now, YouTube. I don't This is not helping me engage with y'all. Um I would say it's incredibly dicey. One should probably do fine. By default, I have to give the benefit of the doubt to Marquise Brown, who remains rock solid and consistent despite a less than ideal situation that he's currently in. I don't know that Cincinnati on offense in their current state can score enough points to the point where the Arizona Cardinals have to throw the ball at the rate that they had to do this past week 4 against San Francisco. Now, the Cardinals defense themselves is not very good. So in theory, this could be a get right spot for Cincinnati. But Joe Burrow is not 100% and not playing well as a result, which is bringing the entire offense down. Now T. Higgins is hurt and seems pretty likely to miss this week. I think T. Higgins said, he's not ruling himself out for this week, but a fractured rib, I feel like that's usually an injury that sidelines you for a week, if not 2. So I don't know that the Bengals offense is good enough to the point where the Cardinals need to throw as much as they had to against week 4. I'll say no. As of today, right now, both of those guys are not necessarily viable. I would say Marquise Brown has to be started this week. Michael Wilson is a very worthy add, but I don't know if I want to chase those 2 touchdowns again 2 weeks in a row. I don't know if I want to chase those 2 touchdowns. But Michael Wilson looks great. He's off to a great start, all things considered. Good for him, man. As far as playing Mostert and Achane, right? We're still calling him Achane. He doesn't want us to call him Achane. It's Achane. As far as both of them, Miami gets... Who do they get this week? I got to look it up. The Giants at home? Oh, yes, sure. Now, here's a situation where I'm okay with. Yeah, you can fire up both Mostert and Achane at home against the Giants. You 100% can do that. You 100% can do that. Giants are coming off short week, going on the road. I love targeting, and you guys should too. I love targeting in any scenario a team who is coming off a Monday night game, especially a loss, and then they got to go on the road. It's going to be hot in Florida. It's going to be uncomfortable. That humidity, it's going to, it's still early in the season. We haven't hit cold weather yet. It's going to be hot. It's going to be uncomfortable down on that field. The Dolphins will be uncomfortable, but they're used to it. The Giants are going to be uncomfortable and not used to it. I would start both Mostert and Achane. There's a big gap in talent between the Dolphins and the Giants. Can't imagine the Dolphins don't just handle that game and they let their running backs run wild. Should you trade Tony Pollard and Romeo Doubs for Christian McCaffrey? I'm inclined to say no. Christian McCaffrey is far and away clear-cut RB1 rest of season. I don't think you're going to get an argument from anybody else on that. But Tony Pollard is probably top 3. I still contest the top 3 running backs for the rest of the season are Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, and Bijan Robinson. So you'd be trading the RB1 for a top, or you'd be trading a top 3 running back for the RB1. You still have your own high-end top 3 RB1, and you're giving up a guy who has given you consistent wide receiver 2 production thus far in Dubs. Could change a little bit with Christian Watson coming back, but why would the Packers go away from using Dubs? He's been a top 15 wide receiver 3 of the past 4 weeks. Or the 3 of the first 4 weeks of the season. And the last game was with Watson back. Watson's targets, his looks will start to go up as he gets, snaps and plays under his belt. But Dubs has been solid. I would not do that. I would not do that. I would not trade Tony Pollard and Romeo Dubs for McCaffrey. What are McCaffrey's touch totals so far this year? 25 week 1, 23 week 2, 23 week 3, 27 week 4. Yeah, I mean, Pollard touches through the first 4 weeks. 16 week 1. It's because he didn't need to do anything. They blew them out 40-0. 32 week 2. That includes 7 catches, but still 25 attempts. And then 26 week 3. Only 14 week 4. But again, Cowboys blew out the Patriots. Nah, I'd rather have Pollard and Dubs. I'd rather have Pollard and Dubs. Start Aaron Jones or Gibbs. So I guess I got to see some practice reports first. Aaron Jones came back from the hamstring injury Thursday night. He didn't get very many opportunities. We got to see practice reports first. But if the practice reports for Aaron Jones are positive, then the answer is Aaron Jones. We only have 1 good week from Aaron Jones. But obviously 2 of those were missed because of injury. And a third, the Packers just didn't give him that much work in his first game back. So I'm going to throw that one out. I'll take the proven veteran over Jahmyr Gibbs. Is an enticing rookie, but he hasn't done much yet. Aaron Jones, but we got to see we got to see practice reports. We got to see practice reports this week. We got to see practice reports this over the course of this week, but tentatively Aaron Jones. What's going on? He hate me. Good to see you, man. You're dropping a Super Bowl future. Okay. Well, obviously you want some good bang for your buck here. What are the latest Super Bowl odds? Let's see. 49ers have the shortest odds. That's not worth it. The Chiefs have the second shortest odds. Not worth it. Bills, Eagles, Cowboys, Dolphins, Ravens, Lions, Browns, Chargers. Ravens at plus 1,500 is very interesting. Ravens at plus 1,500 is interesting. Are those the longest odds for a division winner? Nah, it can't be. Or a projected division. No, the Detroit Lions are lower. Okay. Um, and the Jags are listed. The Jaguars are still the favorites to win the AFC South. They're way down there. I don't know. They feel like they're a step away. Ravens plus 1,500? That doesn't look too bad. That doesn't look too bad. The AFC North looks like a train wreck right now. Pittsburgh doesn't have a good offense. Cincinnati's got a good offense, but it's banged up. Um, and Baltimore just beat Cleveland on the road. Yeah, it was without Deshaun Watson, but that was an important in inter-division game that the Ravens got. Ravens at plus 1,500? That doesn't look too bad. You're obviously looking for like a realistic long shot, so to speak. Ravens don't look too bad there, in my opinion. But enjoy Vegas, man. That's awesome. Vegas is fun. Vegas is fun for like a long weekend, and then by like day 5 or 6, I'm like, someone needs to scrape me off the floor. It's like I need to go home. Let's see. Greg, I got your question. Bobby, I got your question about who to drop for JMO. Jaws, what's going on, Jaws? I don't know why they don't play Justin Ross more. They give I guess Marquez Valdez Scantling is their most veteran guy there. Uh they traded a third for Kadarius Toney, so they probably want to almost force the issue a little bit with him. They drafted Sky Moore high. They drafted Rashee Rice high. Again, it could just be like, maybe they feel like these are the best guys that give them the best chance to win as far as who's on their roster right now. Um, None of these guys are super spectacular, but maybe it's a preference thing for Mahomes. Maybe it's just what Andy Reid is seeing in practice. Maybe they're opting for they're opting for the veteran guys, I guess. I don't know why Justin Ross doesn't play more. Unless they're still easing him back in from the injury. It was a stress fracture, right? For Justin Ross, it was a stress fracture. So I mean, those can be tricky, right? Stress fractures can be tricky. They're highly volatile. It's easy to re-injure those injuries. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're just being cautious. Maybe they're just still being super cautious. That would be my only explanation. Outside of they're not happy with his consistency, or they just don't feel like he's ready consistently, they could just be load managing him, so to speak. Not putting too much strain on his body, since stress fractures can be tricky. Maybe that's it. It's the only thing I can think of. Let's see. Where are we at? Bobby, what side are you getting? Oh, you'd be giving up B. John. Trade Bijan and Allen. Is that Keenan Allen? Oh, for CMC and Waddle. I don't know if I would do that one. Bijan and Pickens for CMC and Collins. That one I might do because you're getting an upgrade going from Pickens to Collins. I don't know that you're doing an upgrade getting Waddle for Allen. I would maybe do that second one. I don't really want to give up Bijan, but I guess if it's for Christian McCaffrey, then screw it, right? And then I like Nico Collins and I like George Pickens at this point. So I would do that second one. I don't know that I want Waddle over Keenan Allen at this point with no Mike Williams for the Chargers the rest of the season. And this week, Keenan Allen is done with his bye week. So that's a bye week that is out of your way early. I would want to keep Keenan Allen. Like those bye weeks this week might hurt a little. Like if you've got a lot of Bucks or a lot of Seahawks or some combination of them and Chargers, like, yeah, that might hurt this week, but week 7, week 8, week 9, when we're in that Mageddon stretch and you have those guys available to you, you're going to be happy you weathered that storm. But I would do I would do the second one. I would trade Bijan and Pickens for McCaffrey and Collins. I think it's a slight upgrade. It's a razor thin upgrade going from Bijan to McCaffrey, but I would say it's a sizable upgrade going from Pickens to Collins. So therefore, I think you're upgrading in both places. I would do that one. I would take the Nico Collins one. I like Nico Collins, man. He's good. He's really good. Yeah, I would do that. If you can get McCaffrey and Collins for Bijan and Pickens, yes, I would do that trade. And Greg, really quick, defensive stream this week. I like Washington or the Lions are fine. Who's Baltimore got this week? I forget who Baltimore has this week. They're on the road in Pittsburgh. Okay. I don't like them as much because it's a home game for the Steelers. Washington at home against the Bears, I like on a short week. I like that. And the Lions, who did I get? The Panthers? Is that who they get? I think they get Carolina. Yeah, they get Carolina at home. Either one of those is fine. I guess I would prefer Washington because of the Bears. I know the Bears look good on offense, but I'm pretty sure every offense is going to look good against the Broncos defense this year. I would probably lean Washington on a short week, getting that Bears offense on the road. Yeah, probably Washington. That would be my favorite stream this week, followed by Detroit. If you can't get Washington, get Detroit. Probably do that. Let's see. Bobby, just seeing some of your questions. I don't think Dylan is a long-term hold. If you're a fan of the team and so you just want to hang on to a guy like because you have that element, that X factor for you, I understand, I get it, but I don't think he's necessarily worth a hold if your running backs are rolling and you need that roster spot, he's expendable. I would hold on to Charbonnet. I'm holding on to any rookie running back that I can, or I'm holding on to any handcuff running back that I can that has at least shown that they're involved right now behind the starter. Running back injuries can happen at the drop of a hat at any time on any given play at a higher frequency than wide receivers. It's why so many running backs are rostered and why so many wide receivers typically dominate the waiver wire. I would not drop Charbonnet, especially because he got in there last night and he got work. I would not drop Charbonnet. As far as Watson, I mean, his upside remains through the roof. Upside remains through the roof. He's not going to finish as a wide receiver 1 overall. Most likely, he would probably have to go nuts over the final 13 weeks or whatever it is. But on a per game basis, yeah, I mean, I would think you would project him to be top 15 rest of season as long as he's healthy. Give Derrick Henry for CeeDee Lamb and Cortland Sutton. Who are your other running backs? Give Derrick Henry for CeeDee Lamb and Cortland Sutton. Honestly, I kind of want to do that, but who are your other running backs? If you've got competent running backs, then my answer would be yes. If you've got competent running backs, then like other competent running backs, my answer is yes. But I need to know who your other running backs are. Um, Josh, could you grab Aiden O'Connell, or did somebody scoop him because he started this past week? Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could do Trubisky at home against the Ravens. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. I guess that makes me like the Steelers, or excuse me, I like the Ravens defense a little bit more as a stream now that I think about it. But I mean, at home, I would be a little bit more dicey. I still prefer a defense playing at home than one on the road, even if it looks like a good situation. Is Aiden O'Connell out there by chance? Let me. What's going on, Alex? Is Zach Wilson startable in Superflex for the rest of the season? I don't know if we can necessarily crown him just yet. I mean, he's certainly a good QB3 to have. If he's your QB2, then that's not good. That being said, he is playing the Broncos this week, and the Broncos are putrid on defense. So Zach Wilson is certainly viable. Not in one quarter. I can't go, even though it's like the best matchup he'll have all year. Zach Wilson is not a streamable guy in one quarterback leagues, but in Superflex this week, he 100% should be in your starting lineup. They're playing the Broncos. Certainly startable this week. I don't know if he's startable the following week against Philly. Could be startable against the Giants, the Chargers, the Raiders. Not against the Bills. Against the Dolphins, maybe. Atlanta, that would be tough. Houston, maybe. Washington, maybe. On the road in Cleveland championship week, I'll say no to that. So it's a mix. There's a mix of like, oh yeah, I could put Zach Wilson in for this matchup, and then there are other games where it's like, I probably don't want anything to do with Zach Wilson in that matchup. But this coming week against Denver, for sure. I would not go as far to say definitively rest of season yet. I'm not ready to go there. But certainly fire him up this week. Uh, do I like Stroud less than Russ for the rest of the season? Guess I'd rather have Stroud. Houston is like turning the corner, I guess. Whereas the Broncos feel like a train wreck. I would rather have Stroud over Russ. At this point, the only guys I would rather have over Stroud are the obvious names. Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Lamar, Tua, Anthony Richardson, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins. I guess I'll put Brock Purdy in there. I guess I'll put Deshaun Watson in there. I guess I'll put Justin Fields in there. And I guess I'll put Joe Burrow in there. Other than that, I mean, Yeah, I would rather have CJ Stroud. They're going to throw a ton. They have to. And he looks capable. And like it looks like he should be getting the opportunity to throw a lot of passes, get a lot of in-game reps, all the experience he needs year one to keep it moving when the Texans start to have expectations again as far as getting in the win column in 2024. Yeah, I would rather have Stroud than all those guys. Rather have Stroud than Russ, for sure. The Broncos feel like a ticking time bomb. They're not good. It's not a good team. I don't want to go down with that ship if I don't have to. As far as this week for start sit, I would play Watson over Pickens tentatively. But we obviously got to keep an eye on practice reports. See if anything develops over the course of the week. I would tentatively pencil Watson in over Pickens, but we got to see how the week plays out. I know the Ravens have the Ravens have Pittsburgh on the road. The Packers have Vegas. Is that Monday night? Yeah, I'd rather play Watson. But obviously, keep an eye. Obviously, you all will, but keep an eye on injury reports, practice reports. That could certainly change things. And yes, Greg, yeah, Stroud over Watson. Stroud. It's close with Watson. Maybe not Watson, but if you need a guy this week, then sure, over Watson and over Zach Wilson definitively. Yes. Yeah, Stroud looks good. Let's see. A trade question. Moss, Pierce, Dubs, and Olave for Adams and Swift. Yeah, who are your other wide receivers? Olave, Metcalf, Watson, Kirk. Okay. You have Saquon, Montgomery, Pierce, and Moss already. So Moss could lose some value if Taylor decides to play for the Colts, or he could remain a top 20 option rest of season if Taylor is truly done with Indianapolis. Pierce is a volume-based RB2. There's value there. Dubs has been a top 15 receiver the past few weeks, and Olave is Olave. I don't think I would do that. I don't think I would do that. Giving up 4 for 2 feels like too much. I know that Adams is that dude, and Swift is off to a great start. But Pierce has been better the past couple weeks. Moss has delivered some decent performances. A really good one a couple weeks ago, and a flex play this past week. Dubs was a top 15 receiver. Olave struggled because of Derek Carr, not because of anything else. Olave struggled because Derek Carr was playing injured. Yeah, I don't think I would do that. I think that's too much to give up. Giving up 4 for 2. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think I would do that. I think I would keep what you have. I know you have a bad taste in your mouth right now with Olave. He only caught one ball, 1 for 4. That's because Derek Carr played hurt like a bozo. Instead of just letting Jameis play, it's clear all week. Carr was, missing practice, listed down, was listed, I think ultimately ruled out, then surprisingly expected to play. It's like, what did you think was going to happen? It's a question like for the Saints and Derek Carr. Like, why? Why would you do that? The guy was like, essentially ruled out starting Thursday. You let him play. It's clear he can't play. And you cost yourselves an important division game that you never really were competitive in. Why didn't you just start Jameis Winston? Stupid, dumb, just dumb by this. But anyway, I don't hold that against Olave. I'm not bailing on him just because of that really bad clunker. I know this isn't a bail, but trading 4 for 2, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Like you have Saquon ID. Like I don't know if he comes back this week. You have Montgomery that you can rock with. Eckler's on bye. He's going to come back. Or other. You've had people say yes and no to. Is Barkley and Montgomery for Eckler and Waddle. I don't know that I would do that. Montgomery's off to a great start. If you're desperate for wide receivers, I guess you could do Saquon and Montgomery for Eckler and Waddle, but I don't know. Waddle's off to a real slow start. I would maybe want a third piece in that trade, or I'd ask for a better, a better performing option than Waddle. Montgomery is off to a great start. He's not going to get 3 touchdowns again, but he's off to a really, really strong start. Swapping Saquon for Eckler, fine. Sure. Swapping Montgomery for Waddle, I would think you could sneak another piece out of that trade because Montgomery's on fire and Waddle is not. I would think you could squeeze a third piece, another receiver out of that deal because Montgomery is off to a great start and Waddle's off to a slow start. Try to get a third piece out of that. If you can get another receiver, just some more wide receiver depth, it doesn't have to be a big name, but if it's a decent wide receiver, then if you could get a third piece out of that, and all you have to argue is Montgomery is playing better than Jalen Waddle right now. So you need to, if you want these 2 running backs, you got to come with it. That would be my suggestion. Is Tajay Spears a hold? Hell yeah. As long as you don't have an immediate need, absolutely. And then I think this was the Derrick Steven. This is the Derrick. You have Bijan, Javonte, Kamara, Spears. If you're trading Derrick Henry and picking up CD and who was the other guy? Cortland Sutton. Yes, you have Bijan. Javonte's not off to a very good start. Kamara's back, gives you a playable guy at the very least, and Spears remains. You don't have the handcuff anymore, but that's okay. You're actually probably maximizing your ceiling at this point by maintaining the guy who has probably a little bit more long-term upside. I mean, Derrick Henry is still Derrick Henry, but Spears could end up being a guy in the fantasy playoffs that you end up relying on. I feel like it's shaping up that way because the Titans are not very good. I know they won this past week. They're one of these teams that are lucky to catch the Bengals at the right time. Like they just are right place, right time. The Bengals are not right now. Joe Burrow is not right now. So anybody who gets to play them is playing them with a severe advantage. Burrow is not healthy and the offense is sputtering as a result. So Tennessee catches a break there a little bit. I'm not reading too much into the fact that they got a big win. I don't think they're a very good team. Spears could mix in a lot more later in the season. So flipping Derrick Henry for CeeDee Lamb, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. Especially if your receivers are bad. Like CeeDee's been kind of pedestrian. But that's talent I would 100% bet on in a buy low. If I'm buying low on CeeDee Lamb, yeah, that's fine. I'm good with that. Yeah, I would say do that. And then to that point, I would say Spears is a hold. To that point, I would say Spears is a hold. He has forced his way onto the field. He's getting plenty of snaps with a healthy Derrick Henry. If you can hold Spears, then yes, do it. Let's see. I got some questions from some members. What's going on, Batty? Good to see you, man. Is Garrett Wilson in my good graces? I mean, he's fine. I guess you have to just start him every week and hope for the best. But he's still only got 10 half PPR points. He had 9 catches for 60 yards. Like, you probably have to start him because he's probably just he's too much more talented than the other guys on your bench. It's just like 9 for 60 is like for him. It's all relative, right? 9 for 60 can be a great game for certain players. But for Garrett Wilson, a guy that you probably spent a top 15 pick on, certainly a top 20 pick on in one quarterback, 9 for 60 cannot be like a best case scenario. So, like, do I start him every week? Yeah, probably. Am I excited about it? No. He's very talented. He's just in a terrible situation. I know Zach Wilson looked a lot better on Sunday night against the Chiefs. Could it be a sign of things to come? Maybe. I'm not getting ahead of myself, though, because it was like the first good game of Zach Wilson's career. So I'll err on the side of, no offense to Zach, but I'm going to err on the side of pessimism for at least one more week. Although they do get the Broncos this week. They do get the Broncos week 5. So, yeah, start Zach Wilson in Superflex. Fire up Garrett Wilson wherever you have him. Fire up Breece Hall wherever you have him. You can probably fire up Alan Lazard in deeper leagues if you're hurting at wide receiver. That's how bad the Broncos defense is. You can get the second option for Zach Wilson in the pecking order. That's how bad the Broncos are. Let's see. Batty, you're trying to figure out your defense. Yeah, I would drop the Jags for either the Lions or Washington if Washington is available. I like them too. At home on a short week against the Bears. I like that. If Washington is available, Batty, then I would say grab Washington. I like them playing at home on a short week against the Bears. I like their defense there. If they're not available, then the Lions are fine at home against Carolina. Yes, but yes, I would drop Jacksonville. You could always try to get them back later. No one's going to pick them up this week. They're playing Buffalo. If you want to try to sneak them in as a transaction on Sunday, if you decide to drop somebody on your bench, you could do that if you really want to get them back before the second London game kicks off. You could always do that, but I would drop the Jags. You could pick up the Lions. You could pick up Washington. I can't imagine anybody grabs Jacksonville this week with them playing Buffalo. You could grab them. You could grab them again on Saturday night or something if you want to for the whoever's at the end of your bench. If you really want to secure them ahead of the following week. Yeah. But let me know if there's any other. If it's not Washington, Batty, then sure. Detroit is a fine pickup. They're at home against Carolina this week. That's a good matchup. You can certainly rock with them. And Jaws got it, understood. In that case, it sounds like you might not have a choice. We're rolling with Trubisky against the Ravens. Boy, at least he's at home. At least he's at home. Like that's about it. That's all I got. Maybe he'll run a little bit. Trubisky could run a little bit. What happens if Mitchell Trubisky has a decent game for the Steelers against the Ravens? With all kinds of quarterback controversies in Pittsburgh. I won't quite go there yet. We're not there. All right, let's see. Where are we at? Randy, you traded Lawrence and AJ Brown. Lawrence, AJ Brown, and Tank for Lamar. Okay. Devontae Smith. Okay. And Roshan Johnson. Is that Tank Dell or Tank Bigsby? You upgraded going from Lawrence to Lamar, from going from Lawrence to Lamar. That's an upgrade. AJ Brown to Devontae. I'll say AJ Brown is the better option there. So that's Devontae Smith is still that dude, and he'll have his wide receiver 1 weeks. I know he's off to a better start on the whole so far than AJ Brown is, but AJ Brown just had a monster game, reminded everybody who he is. Is that Tank Dell or that's Bigsby? Okay. And you got Roshan. All right. I mean, Roshan's probably closer to a little bit of a larger opportunity than Tank Bigsby is right now. Bigsby's on the better team. Roshan is the guy who could be the early down back for Chicago rest of season, even though it was Khalil Herbert delivering the fantasy goods this past weekend. I think it's fine. I think it's fair. I think it's fair. I think you upgraded at quarterback, took a little bit of a hit at wide receiver, but you got a more intriguing running back prospect, in my opinion. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. And 4-point passing touchdowns means Lamar is more, that's an extra boost in Lamar's favor over Lawrence. Lamar's going to run the ball a ton yet again because J.K. Dobbins is injured. Yeah, I would say this is pretty good. Okay, I would say this is pretty good. Lamar's upside over Lawrence is higher now that I think about it. Yeah, I would say it's pretty good. Randy, I would say that's nicely done. Yeah. Those 4-point passing scores make Lamar even more valuable, and he's going to run even more than we probably could have projected coming into the season with no more J.K. Dobbins. So, yeah, I would say that's pretty good. Nicely done. I think that's good. And Ray, understood. I know I get it. You're trying to sort things out. Sometimes we have a team where it looks great on paper and then injuries happen. Next thing you know, you're 1-3 or 0-4, and you're just trying to pick up the pieces. It's all good. I would, again, if that Barkley and Montgomery for Eckler and Waddle's on the table, I would be aggressive. I would ask for that third piece. I'd be like, look, Waddle's off to a bad start. Montgomery's killing it. If you want both running backs and I only get one back, I need another piece. I would ask for that 3 for 2. They have Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen, and Hollywood. Okay. You're probably not going to be able to get Hollywood. He's off to too good of a start. But you could ask. Running back depth is insanely valuable, and you're giving up 2 to get 1. I think it's fair to ask for 2 wide receivers in that trade. I would ask for Hollywood. Screw it. Amari Cooper, they're probably not going to go for. They're not going to go for Amari Cooper. They drafted him too high. He's off to a decent start last week, notwithstanding. Not his fault. DTR wasn't ready. And then Adam Thielen, what did he do in his revenge? I don't know what he did in his revenge game against Minnesota. I had another nice day. 7 for 76. Ho hum. Yeah, you could ask for Thielen too. I would start right with Hollywood. If they say no, then ask for Thielen. If you're giving up Saquon and Montgomery, I would say give me Eckler, Waddle, and Hollywood. If they say no, then say, all right, give me Eckler, Waddle, and Thielen. Get that 3 for 2. If they say no, then it's just like, all right, then I'm keeping my running backs. Um, Bobby, I think that team, I mean, it looks really good. I would say make that trade. Turn Bijan into McCaffrey, turn Pickens into Nico Collins, and I would say that's a strong playoff team. There's good running back depth, decent receivers. Pickens to Collins would be an upgrade. Yeah, I like the squad, especially in 14 teams. Should make the playoffs, should make some noise. If you can execute that trade, you'll be in business. Looks good. Nicely done for a 14-team build. Let's see. Betty, I got your question. Washington, if they're available. If not, the Lions are fine. Drop the Jags. Ray, I got that about the receivers that they have. Brees Hall or Addison in full PPR. Brees. They're playing the Broncos. They're playing the Broncos. The Broncos are the sorriest defense in the NFL. 6 for 56 for Brees. Average 9 yards a carry. Picked up 3 catches. I know it's been very pedestrian, but I want to go back to the well with Brees Hall as he continues to work his way back from the ACL, continue to get stronger each week. He's removing himself time-wise. Each day is another day away removed from that ACL injury. And now he gets the easiest matchup of the season. The Broncos are sorry on defense. They are the sorriest defense in the league. I want to start everybody against I want to start every offensive playmaker I can against the Denver Broncos. In deeper leagues this week, you could start Allen Lazard at wide receiver. Like that's how it's not necessarily like I'm not expressing confidence in Zach Wilson after a good game. I am expressing confidence in the fact that the Denver Broncos can't stop a nosebleed. They are terrible on defense. Now, they picked up like 4 sacks in the toilet bowl battle with the Chicago Bears, but that's because the Bears are equally putrid. The Bears dropped a ton of points on them, and the Bears offense had been a colossal train wreck coming into that week. I want to start everybody I can against the Denver Broncos. So, yeah, that includes Brees Hall. It should be a high-scoring game potential between the Chiefs and the Vikings, which makes Addison enticing. But Brees is a ceiling play in a spectacular matchup. It's going to be hard for me to say no to that. It's going to be hard to say no to that. And Betty, as far as Michael Wilson, is JMO available? I would spend more money on him. If not, 10 to 15% of your FOB if you need a wide receiver. $10 to 15% if you need a wide receiver, maybe more like 7 to 8%. JMO's not available. Okay. 10 to 15% if you could use a wide receiver. 7 to 8% if it's just like my wide receivers are loaded, but I'm just like looking to, make the best move I can this week. If you've got good receivers, I won't worry about it too much. If you could use the receiver depth a little bit, and certainly if you feel like you need a spot start this week, maybe on the 15% end of your FOB, 10 to 15%. Somewhere in there, if you could use the wide receiver help. It's a decent enough matchup against Cincinnati this week, but I don't know that the Bengals are not good on offense right now. I just question whether they can force teams to have to stay aggressive against them, have to, score enough points. 10 to 15% of your FOB. Maybe a little bit more like 6 to 8% if you don't really need a wide receiver, but you're just looking to make a move. Somewhere in that range. Very intrigued, very interested. I like Michael Wilson, but I don't want to go nuts. I don't want to go crazy. Somewhere in the 10 to 15% range. Bobby, I guess for IDP, I wouldn't drop Wagner. There's not anybody else. I mean, I would drop again if you need a spot IDP. I would drop either Logan Thomas or AJ Dillon. I would. I mean, I wouldn't. If you're 3-1, don't take a 0. Don't take a 0 for the sake of holding on to a guy. I mean, go for the win. Go for 4-1. If putting a player in that position is going to help you win, even if it's just to get 5 or 6 tackles or whatever, no, I would drop Logan Thomas or AJ Dillon to make that happen. Yeah, don't take a 0. Don't take a 0. Iron Ferguson or oh my God, Kmet rest of season. Kmet's coming off an incredible game. But I would probably say slight edge to Ferguson. He's just in what feels like the better, safer situation. Better team, better offense, safer situation, less of a concern of any type of implosion during the season. The Bears are a ticking time bomb, just like the Broncos are. You never know where that could lead or where that could end up. I'll take Ferguson. It's close, but I'll take the slight nod to the player in the better situation. And it's not like Brandon Cooks is doing much of anything. I know Michael Gallup has had a couple of nice games, but Ferguson's going to have to stay involved if Brandon Cooks is not giving you that much. I know Kmet had a 2-touchdown performance this week. It was against the Broncos. Jake Ferguson himself just had like a tight end, a top 7 or 8 performance himself. 7 catches, 77 yards in a blowout. What was that, like 38-3? Or did the Patriots score a point, or 38-10, or whatever the hell it was? 38-3. That game, the Cowboys won 38-3. Jake Ferguson could have caught one pass for 8 yards and nobody would have batted an eye. That would have been just like, that's just how it went because the Cowboys crushed the Patriots. They had no need to throw the ball. Ferguson got 7 for 77. That's pretty good. I would take Ferguson. Let's see. Randy, I got thoughts on that trade. Should you start Gibbs if you have Achane? If you can only start one, then right now you're starting Achane at home against the Giants 100%. Yeah, 100%. If you can only start one, Achane. If the question is, do you start them both? I mean, you're only starting Gibbs if you don't have any other obvious options. If it's like Gibbs or Javonte Williams, then yeah, you probably got to fire up Gibbs because Javonte hasn't been doing much and picked up an injury. But if it's Gibbs or Achane, the answer is Achane. For sure. Yeah, Trubisky played with Allen Robinson in Chicago. They played together. I think Robinson signed there. Didn't Robinson sign there like Trubisky's second or third season with the team? That's when Allen Robinson signed there. They had a decent. They had a decent season together. As far as the best handcuffs, it depends on who's available. Um, I like Tajay Spears as a handcuff. I don't know if Chuba Hubbard is very good, but I kind of like him as a handcuff. Miles Sanders is not 100%. Again, it depends on who's available. Elijah Mitchell or Jordan Mason. I'm not crazy about either one of those guys, but you know if anything happens to McCaffrey, who is has a bit of an injury history and is handling a significant major workload each week for the 49ers this year, if anything happens to him, I mean, either one of those guys could become viable. Um, a lot of these rookies. I like Charbonnet. He's probably still rostered in most leagues. Um, yeah, it all depends. It all depends on who's available and all depends on who's available in on your wire or um, what options you have on your bench to move on from. I would say I like Tajay Spears. Um, just not sure that we don't see him a little bit more as the season moves along if the Titans season goes south, which it feels like it certainly could. It's not a good offensive line. I know that Derrick Henry had a vintage Derrick Henry day at home against the Bengals. But is that sustainable for Derrick Henry for the rest of the season, age 29? Lots of tread on the tires. He's off to a pretty good start because he's Derrick Henry, but is it sustainable with the Titans potentially not being a very good team? So I kind of like Spears as a handcuff if you can hang on to him. Play the Eagles defense or the Dolphins defense. The Dolphins. I would play the Dolphins are playing the Giants. Who do the Eagles have? Oh, the Rams on the road. Nah, I'm not as crazy about that with the Eagles having to go on the road. Give me the Dolphins at home against the Giants, who are sputtering. They just gave up, 11 sacks? I'll take the Dolphins. I'm not worried about a bad performance on the road in Buffalo. I expect them to bounce back this week again at home against the Giants. I would absolutely play the Dolphins over the Eagles defense. As far as Kyron Williams or Mixon, Cincinnati gets the Cardinals on the road. Kyron gets the Eagles. The Eagles are playing the Rams. I'm going to that game, by the way. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Kyron Williams had a huge game this past week. That was against the Colts, right? Had a huge game this week. I mean, his floor has been a low-end RB2. Ceiling has been a bona fide RB1. Mixon's been kind of middling. Although he's had a strain of tough matchups to open the season. Tentatively, I would say Mixon is a floor play, Tyler, and Kyron is a little bit more. Kyron's got a little bit more upside. Maybe a lower floor, but higher upside. Tough matchup, but going against the Eagles defense, going up against the Eagles front. And so the matchup definitely is in Mixon's favor. So maybe he's a little bit more of like the floor play. Kyron's a little bit more of an upside play. I feel like you probably have to find a way to get him into your lineup regardless. He's just been putting together some really big performances to open the year. But Mixon has the much better matchup. Bench Waddle for dubs. The Packers get the Raiders on Monday night. The Dolphins have the Giants at home. I don't know that I can go that far. I know Dubs has been a top 15 wide receiver like 3 of the first 4 weeks of the season, something along those lines. Waddle has not met expectations at all. I feel like I have to go back to Waddle one more time. I like Dubs, but with Christian Watson back and he's going to get more he's going to get more run in his second game back. I don't know that I can go that far. I feel like I gotta go. I gotta roll with Waddle one more time. I gotta go with Waddle one more time. At least he's seen a minimum of 5 targets in every game. You would think that that should, that number should go up at home in a better matchup. And his first 2 weeks, he still went for 78 yards, 86 yards. I think I got to go back to Waddle one more week. Waddle one more week. Dolphins defense over the Eagles. Mixon, boring floor play. Kyron Williams, a little bit more of an upside play. Could have a lower floor than Mixon given the tough matchup going up against Philly. Would I trade Kamara and Henry for Kelsey? Would somebody do that? I mean, yes, smash accept as soon as possible. If somebody has Travis Kelsey and is willing to take Kamara and Henry for that, then I would never do that. I would keep Kelsey, but if you can get Kelsey for that, then absolutely do it. No question. I can't imagine. I mean, nah, I can't imagine somebody saying yes to that. But if you can make it happen, then absolutely do it. Absolutely. Last couple questions here. Probably going to shut it down here shortly, but appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out, talking shop, asking questions on this Week 5 Waiver Wire Tuesday. Just a heads up, my availability will be a little sporadic this week. I do have family visiting for a vacation, so going to be a little bit more hit and miss. I will try to get some streams up and running for start sit help at some point. I'll try to find some time to talk shop with you guys. If I am not able to, you can join my Discord. Second link in the description of this video. You're free to join, ask questions as they come up. I'll be sure to make myself available at times throughout the week if you have questions. We'll make sure we get that help sorted out for you. But availability rest of the week might be a little bit sporadic. I'll find time to be available for y'all though as I can. Just wanted to give that heads up now. But only one more question I see in the chat. Should you drop Burrow? I wouldn't drop Burrow, even though it's been a really, really rough start. I would weather the storm for a little bit longer. Plus, you can't use Deshaun Watson this week anyway. He's on his bye week. And Burrow gets a couple of potential by the matchup anyway. A couple of get right games here between the Cardinals and the Seahawks by the numbers. He should be able to fare a little bit better against them. If you also have Purdy, I would probably still want to weather the storm. I would want to weather the storm with Burrow. I know it's gross. I know it sucks right now, but I would want to hold him out. I would want to hold out. Excuse me. I would want to hold out on Burrow. If you have Purdy, I don't really have a need for Watson. I'll continue to wait on Burrow and hope that he can get healthy, get the calf healthy, and he gets back to being a top 6 or 7 quarterback week to week. So I would probably hang on to Burrow. Sorry, I did miss this question earlier. Cousins, Bijan, Gibbs, AJ, Godwin, Laporta, Stevenson. Decent options on the bench. Any trades to make? If you only start 2 receivers, you have AJ Brown, you don't have Godwin this week because he's on bye. I mean, do you sell high on Laporta to try to get a better wide receiver and then just try to go back to the well with Goddard? Goddard's been bad at tight end. So it's hard to envision feeling good at least right now, it's hard to feel good about him. It's hard to feel good about Goddard. It's easy to feel great about Laporta. But that'll get you some good value at wide receiver if you think you could use it. You have Bijan, you have Stevenson, I think that's okay for running backs. I would be looking to maybe flip Laporta, and maybe you include like Christian Kirk in that to try to get a real upgrade at wide receiver, like a real strong upgrade at wide receiver. You can't trade AJ Brown. He's your stud in full PPR. You have Bijan still. You have Stevenson still. I would maybe try to sell high. I don't want to do this necessarily, but I would look to you might be able to get a really good wide receiver if you sell high on Laporta right now. You might be able to get a really good wide receiver. Yeah. And Tyler, sorry if you missed it. I don't know, maybe I don't know if an ad ran or something. I don't think I can bench Waddle yet for Dubs. I thought about it. I don't think I'm there yet. I know that Dubs has been better, but Waddle's had some tough matchups to start the year, plus the injury. This week he's at home against the Giants. I feel like this is a good spot for him to kind of get right. I think I would rock with Waddle for one more week. I think I would rock with Waddle for one more week. And Saif, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Maybe that's the very name that you need to go after. Maybe you go after Jalen Waddle. A guy who's got, a lot, high expectations, was drafted high. He's underperforming a little bit right now, so his manager's not happy about him, maybe looking to move off of him for a guy who's got a little bit more upside. Laporta might be a decent sell. I don't think Laporta's going anywhere, but with Jameson Williams back, his volume could take a slight hit. Hell, you might be able to do Laporta for somebody like Waddle straight up. And then you could maybe look to flip, like something like, I don't know, like a Tank Dell and I don't know if I want to trade Stevenson with how Gibbs has performed so far. You don't want to trade Gibbs. It would be a sell low. So you don't want to sell low on Gibbs, because I do think you might as well hold a guy like him at this point. Hold the underachieving guys that you expect to turn it around at some point. But like maybe sell high on Laporta, get a guy like Waddle. You could still plug Goddard in and hope that Waddle can turn it around. Something like that. If the guy could use a tight end. And then, I don't know, with that, you'd have A.J. Brown. Let's say that trade goes through. You have Waddle, you have Godwin. You could move Kirk and JSN for some running back depth. Christian Kirk, not Kirk Cousins. You probably need to hang on to Cousins. But if you only start two receivers and a flex, then you probably don't need all of Dell and Christian Kirk and Sutton. I would maybe do that. Maybe sell high on Laporta, see if you can get somebody like Waddle, and then take Christian Kirk and pair him with your JSN or Kareem Hunt or maybe Dell. Hopefully not, but and then see if you can get a good some running back depth, an upgrade at running back. Just go to a team that looks like they could use some receiver depth and check out what type of running backs they have. Something like that. Something like that. Hopefully that helps. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip over the question initially. And I know sometimes ads run through these streams. So if you miss anything, just let me know. Make sure not to ultimately miss anybody's questions here. If Waddle falls flat again this week, then yes, we put him on the bench until he proves that he's earned the right to go back to the starting lineup. In this matchup at home against a sputtering Giants team that just looks like everything is falling apart right now for them, I would probably fire up Waddle one more time. Let's see if he can come through. in a great matchup, great situation, at home, 2 weeks removed from the concussion. I'm willing to work with him for one more week. But yeah, if he has another bad week, then sure. We fire up Dubs until Waddle proves that he's earned that spot back. I would go back to him for one more week, though. I want to bet on the talent. Right. He did clear 75 receiving yards the first 2 weeks. It's not, it's not a world-beating performance, but it's not nothing. 75 receiving yards is not nothing. You expect that from your second overall pick. But I think we can still have decent expectations for Jalen Waddle at home. Great matchup. 2 weeks removed from the injury. I think I'm going back to the well for one more week. If Dubs outperforms him this week, then yeah. Then we move off of Waddle. But I got to try to go back to the well with him for one more week. And then let's see. Marquise Brown, Puka, James Cook for Keenan Allen? No. Are you getting the package? Or are you getting Keenan Allen? 3 for 1 is too much. And I know Keenan Allen is shaping up to put up big numbers this season without Mike Williams. He had another good game against the Raiders. 3 for 32 and a touchdown. Well, he caught the touchdown. No. I'm not doing that trade. If I have Hollywood Brown, Puka, and James Cook, and I have to give all those guys for Keenan Allen, no, that's my no. Puka's an every down start or an every week starter at this point, and James Cook is spectacular running back depth if you're not already starting him outright. No, you need to keep that package. Do not do that deal. Do not trade for Keenan Allen if that's what it takes. If you have good depth, keep your good depth. That's way too much. If the person who has Keenan Allen is asking for all that, no shot. No shot. If the person asking for Keenan Allen is if the person who has Keenan Allen is asking for all that for Keenan Allen, no shot. Keep your package. Puka's a wide receiver 1 right now. James Cook is a really strong RB2 option right now. Marquise Brown is putting up double-digit PPR points every week so far. No. Keep Hollywood, keep Puka, keep James Cook. Do not do that deal. All right. I think I got everybody. I think we're at the end of the chat. I know that ads occasionally run through this stream. I know I got every question at this point. If you think I missed it, let me know. Hit me up with a comment. I'll follow up with my thoughts. I'll make sure that you guys get some thoughts leading up to Wednesday, Waiver Wire Wednesday. But that'll do it for me for tonight. Again, I will keep everybody posted about my availability this week. I do have family visiting, so not sure how available I will be as we move through the week, but I will try to make time for start, sit, help here and there. I will keep everybody posted. Otherwise, be on the lookout. Everybody have a great night. I'll try to be here for Thursday for the Thursday stream. If not, again, you can hit me either with a comment on any one of my videos, or you can join my Discord. Second link in the description of this stream and all of my videos on my channel. And you can ask any questions that you may have over there. That'll do it for me, though, tonight, guys. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out. I'll see y'all later this week. Thanks, everybody.